right, welcome back to the garden. I keep thinking we're going to do a garden tour when it's not so blazing hot. But here we are again. I don't know what's going on with the weather. I'm sure you guys are experiencing crazy weather patterns, whether they're the same as mine or not. I don't know. But a couple days ago, weather report had 10 days in the high 70s to maybe a high of 82. Now it's showing 10 days in the mid to high 80s. And it's just, I'm just done. I'm over it. So we're out in the garden today. It is looking pretty ratty. I have a lot of blight going on. I have a lot of overgrowth going on. I have a lot of splitting because the weather folks also did not tell me about a sudden massive rain that was going to hit a couple of weeks ago. So you're going to see the state of affairs. It's pretty sorry, but it has produced like mad, and I am immensely grateful that, particularly in a season like we've just had, where so many folks have had droughts and too much rain and cold weather, freezes early spring, and things have been so difficult. I am grateful and I'm blessed for what I have, and I don't take it lightly, even though I am tired of processing peppers and tomatoes. But that's okay. I'm going to do it anyway, because next year I could have nothing, you know. It's crazy to think about, but I could have absolutely nothing. I know many of you, never would have thought that you would just have nothing, or that your season would be so short because it was cut short by heat or rain or drought or whatever it is. And I feel for you. If I could give you some canned tomatoes, I would. But anyway, we're going to do a harvest today. This will not be my last harvest of the season, although it might be the last reasonable harvest of tomatoes because there's so much sickness in those plants. But my peppers are going really strong. It is the last week of September, and our first frost date isn't until like the third week of October. So they have plenty of time to keep growing, keep ripening. So I'm going to leave anything that's not really ready to go on the plant, because I'm going to be overwhelmed as it is with what we have. So as the hornets fly around me. Welcome. Welcome to Garden Preserve. I'm Carter. I'm so glad you're here today. Let's go see this crazy garden. All right, we're going to start with the jalapenos. Look at these. They're monsters, just monsters, and there are hundreds of them. I can't wait to see how many we get today. Look, that one branch, all those jalapenos, they are everywhere. I think I planted 10 plants this year. A couple got eaten down by something, a deer, a rabbit, I can't remember what we decided it was. But I tell you what, the ones that survived that are just crazy. And even actually the ones this is one of the ones that had gotten eaten down, and it is still covered in jalapenos. I've never had a jalapeno year this good. So we're going to collect a bunch of jalapenos. I have some red ones coming in as well. And then if you remember from one of my earlier garden tours this summer, I told you that I was going to stay on top of my herbs. I was going to be drying those things. I was going to do something every week. Well, yeah, I didn't do squat. So I don't know. I will, and look at the mint. The mint is just everywhere. So that needs a little work. I will get some rosemary and some sage, and if I can find some basil in there that has not turned bitter, I'll get some of that preserved. I definitely have plenty of time. I'll get some more of that preserved. Mint, I'm not crazy about the mint dried, so I'll make a bunch of tea, and that may be it. These are Santa Fe Grand peppers. They have been very slow to color up for me this year. I like them when they get to be orange or red, simply because they look so pretty in the jar. But now they're starting to show their colors, which is really nice. I have many of these. That is a Escamillo back there. That is a yellow version of the Carmen pepper. I have a couple of those that look to be ready. Lots of banana peppers. Oh, we have an Ashvarsky ready to go. This pepper bed has just been insane. Absolutely crazy. More Ashvarsky coming up here. Lots of green ashvarsky. Ooh, several of them in there. More banana peppers. More ashvarskis. Banana peppers. Even some of those are starting to color up now. Ooh, I don't know what that is. Let's see. Oh, that is a Carmen. That's a Carmen right there. This one is, oh, this is coming from another plant. These are rewias. They will be orange. So we have lots of peppers to harvest today. Lots of peppers. So I'm excited about that. Let me show you what's in here. If you watch Lazy Dog Farm, he had some, Louisiana something or other onions. I'll put the name up on the screen. But they're basically multiplying onions. So I bought some of those, use them as green onions, and then if you want to use the bulbs as a shallot, that's what you would do. But you can see, put one bulb in here, and it's splitting into two already. This one is splitting into thirds already. This one back here looks like it has 4 going on. I'm pretty excited about those. Got some cilantro starting to kick in there. A little bit of a baby lettuce bed. All right, let's go see. I'm going to show you my fall bed. It's still covered because we still have the cabbage moths like crazy. So I have some red cabbage going on in here. This is some purple sprouting broccoli. I have radishes. I have some bok choy. I have a bunch of kale. I did all curly leaf versions of kale this year because the lacinato has really not done well for me the past couple years. There's some carrots in here. I have random potatoes that I guess got left in the bed. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 5, I think I've got 5 potatoes in there somewhere, so I'm going to have to track those down and find them. I had spinach that I had grown out, and I planted 4 spinach plants. I now have some germinating there because I reseeded, but I put in 4 plants, and the next day they were gone. And I don't know who is smart enough to get under this cover because it's weighted down all around. But something did, and something ate my 4 spinach plants and left everything else alone. So I don't know what that was. Sounds kind of smart for a bunny, but who knows. This is just kind of embarrassing with all of the weeds in there. That's a sweet potato bed. I don't know if I'm going to have anything at all. I put them in and then it got so darn hot I just didn't tend to it at all. So we'll see. Supposedly sweet potatoes thrive with lack of attention and lack of nutrition. So it's had both. So we'll see how that goes. My tomato vines, you can see I've got blight coming in everywhere. But look, I've still got some beautiful cherry tomatoes there. So we'll get some of that picked. I didn't bring out the ladder. I'm going to have to go get the ladder for some of these. I do have some cracking. We had an unexpected rain a couple of weeks ago, and I had a bunch of cracking. So a lot of these will be cracked, unfortunately. All right, let's scoot over to the other side. We'll go through the jungle. All right, we're going to start on this bed because this is such a sad story. This was supposed to be my other fall bed. I put all the plants in. There were 12, I think, cauliflower in here, and I put them in at night. They were well conditioned. They'd been outside in the sunshine for 2 weeks, I think, at least 2 weeks, maybe even 3. I came back the next morning and they had all fainted and they just never recovered. So you can see remnants. I don't know what had happened. I have just never seen that happen before. The other bed did just fine. I have a couple here that survived, although you can see they're still being eaten by the cabbage worms. A bunch of dropped tomatoes obviously are starting to sprout. But I don't know what happened to my cauliflower, but that was pretty disappointing. So now I have to buy cauliflower this year, which never makes me happy because it's gotten so expensive. I also had 2 broccoli plants over here. Man, it's just been eaten like crazy. But if they survive, these at least survived the initial transplant or whatever it was that took out my cauliflower. I don't know. And then there's more blight and more lack of maintenance. It's terrible. But anyway, I do have some, this is my second bat of Romas, and they are starting to ripen. I don't know how many I'm really going to get out of here because the disease is just really taken over. Oh, it's just terrible. I hate the disease this time of year. More Romas, again, completely taken over by disease, but I have some still ripening on the vine. So we'll get anything that is ripening today, and then we'll give it a little bit longer. So here's a purple rain tomato. It's coming from the plant way over there. It just looks terrible. This is just awful. Look, my cherry tomatoes on this side. Oh, the disease just kills me. However, my Brandywine pinks continue to do well. Got one there. Unfortunately, something ate that one. Got another one here. Lots of cracking. I've got a couple way over there from one of these plants here. It's growing way over there, so this trellis has been great, and then I could just kind of wrap things around. A bunch more green ones on the vine, but these vines are dead. They're just a mess. Red hot cherry peppers. Got some big ones this year. These were in my gardener seeds, and they really turned out well for me. Okay. More struggling tomatoes, but you can see I have lots of big green ones on the vine. So those are a couple of Berkeley tie-dyes there that are green. I have some Ananas Noir up here, up there. And there are those pinks again, the Brandywine pinks. And yet another herb bed that has gone crazy for lack of attention. So we're going to get harvesting today. That is one plant, just one, and I didn't even pick anything that wasn't up to size. So it's gonna be quite a jalapeno day. Let's keep going. The size of some of those. Good grief.
Baby ferns are curling. Every
missed a jalapeno plant, so I found some more of those. Okay, so that's all I'm gonna pick of the peppers today, which is kind of insane, right? So today is September, I can't read it, maybe 24th, 25th, something like that. So our first average frost date is usually around October 21st. So I do have time for all of the smaller ones and unripe ones to finish up. So I left those on the plant and I just took what really needed to come in today. So let's move on to some tomatoes and see how we do. They are not, as you saw on the tour, I'm not going to get nearly the harvest from the tomatoes. They are pretty darn tired. So let's see what we do get. All right, you overheated and pooped out. So now that you've had your little rest, you can join me on what I hope is going to be the rest of the harvest. I had to do a little work without you. So I got, that's from one plant. That's from the plant that I neglected, that I stuck it in the ground and I never staked it up. I never did anything. So, you know, not bad. It never got any fertilizer, no attention, no nothing. And then this is from the first cherry tomato arch trellis. So we're going to try to get the rest of these done pretty quickly, and hopefully you can stay with me. All right, let's go. These plants are in such bad shape. These tomatoes are just falling off and they're not quite ripe yet. Most of these were laying on the ground underneath one of the plants. They just fell off. And that's what happens when the stems get so diseased and so dead, they can't hold them. All right, let's keep going. I'm finding that there's been a lot of snacking going on in the garden, so that's too bad. Okay. All right, that's it for the plums. Let me see if I can find another shady spot for you. What's a purple rain? They crack a lot, but they're really tasty and they're beautifully dark purple on the inside. The tops, the shoulders, always stay a little bit green. So you can feel that it is almost completely ripe on the inside. Pink. This guy really split badly. I don't know if I can save him, but we'll see. Maybe this half, but he's not completely ripe yet, so I don't know about that one. And I don't know about where you are, but the weather folks have been particularly bad this year at predicting the weather. So a few days ago, it looked like we had 10 days in the 70s coming up. And today, it looks like we have 10 days in the mid to high 80s. And I'm just not happy with the change. But I don't know. I guess the peppers are going to be happy with the change. So I'm going to stick with it, do what I can do. The brandywine pinks, like the one I showed you before. This one isn't cracked as badly, but they all crack. But I tell you what, they are so worth it. More brandywine pinks. These have really done well for me this year. I had 3 plants, and I bet I have brought in, I don't know, 30 or 40 tomatoes so far, and there's still a bunch of green that are on the plant. So I'm excited with that, even with all the cracking, and they're still my favorite tasting. All right, let's see if we can wrap up the slicers. More brandywine pinks. growing over on this side of the fence, although the plants are on the other side of the fence. So I've just added another 10 of the Brandywine pinks. So as I mentioned, this is another form of the Roma tomato that I have, and these are not something I would ordinarily pick this time of year because we do have time left. But because these plants are in such bad shape and I keep finding little bites taken out of them, I'm going to go ahead and bring these in. You can tell as we get toward the end of the season, either the plants aren't taking up nutrition anymore or the soil has been depleted, because I start to get these teeny tiny little sun golds and sun sugars. That's a medium-sized one, but they have been so much bigger this year. I'm going to get them anyway because they're so good. That's not a terrible cherry tomato harvest, although clearly these plants have about given me everything they're going to give me. So we'll get these in and taken care of, and the expectation that there won't be many more. All right, I'm gonna wrap it up and we're gonna go inside. Let me show you the tomato basket. Okay, that is my very full tomato basket. So I will meet you inside because I can't carry all this and you at the same time. It turned out to be quite the harvest today. It was hard to imagine I would get this much food out of that scraggly, disease-ridden garden, but I did. Particularly the peppers, as you can see, were just amazing, and they just continue to go on and on. I have at least this many, probably twice this many, quite frankly, out there that are still green and not ready to harvest yet, or the jalapenos are still a little small. So I'm just gonna let those go. We've got some time, and I'm gonna take it. Tomatoes, this is probably the last reasonable harvest of tomatoes. So the ones that are still ripening, I'm just going to put on the dining room table and let them continue to go. The ones that have some cracking or maybe a little bit of a bug hole or something like that, I'm going to chop those up, clean them up, and put them in the freezer so we can process those with something else later. I didn't pick any green tomatoes today. I did do a large harvest of my first paste tomato bed of all the green tomatoes. That the disease had just overwhelmed that bed. So I took all the green tomatoes and I turned those into salsa verde along with the tomatillos that I had stashed in my freezer for just that purpose. So you'll see a little bit of that in my upcoming freezer reorganization video. But if you want to know how to make salsa verde that's half green tomatoes and half tomatillos, I did a video on that last year. So I'll try to put a link to that up here. So most of the jalapenos are going into a recipe that you will see maybe next week, maybe the week after. I'm also, I don't know if you can see in the camera screen, I'm doing all of the recipe testing on the next round of the soup video. So we'll just see which one comes out first. I don't want to put it out before it's perfect. So we'll get to that too. So we have a very busy October coming up, and I'm really glad you guys are here. Thank you for joining me out in the very hot garden, even though you overheated. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.